Beyond the Pelvis is hosted by Dr. Craniosacral, a pelvic floor PT and intuitive healer, and Laura Haraka, a somatic practitioner and breathwork facilitator. Each week, we explore alternative and holistic approaches to healing chronic pelvic pain and other painful or chronic conditions. Join us and other experts in mind, body, and spiritual healing as we discuss a wealth of modalities ranging from ancient practices to modern therapies that challenge the conventional Western model of treatment. Let's get right to it.
So welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Pelvis. And today we are fortunate enough to have with us Amanda Fleissner, who is the owner of Find Relief Therapy, a private occupational therapy practice located in East Hanover, New Jersey. She treats infants, children, and adults with a variety of developmental and chronic pain conditions using her extensive training and clinical experience in craniosacral therapy and RooTFX. She's New Jersey's only OT with this skill set. So welcome, Amanda, to the podcast.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me. I really excited to be here.
And it's great to connect. Amanda and I have been friends since the time we've been neighbors when we used to live in the same town. We actually lived across the street from each other. And I remember we first connected, it was like, oh, was I in school yet? I must have been in school or about to start school, like PT school. And you were like, oh, I'm an OT. And then we sort of bonded in that way and just continued to bond over time. But yeah. And I really wanted to talk with you about what you do. I mean, you are like the most special OT that I know. And the fact that you also do craniosacral therapy, which I think is in itself just very special. And most people don't know what that is. And even people who have heard about craniosacral therapy don't actually know what it is. So do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually becoming more well-known. I've been studying craniosacral therapy, study it through the Upledger Institute. John Upledger was the person who created craniosacral therapy. And I've been studying that since 2008. And so quite a long time and practicing it. But what I've noticed in the last few years, people have been Googling it. Like they'll be like, oh, I heard about craniosacral therapy, or I Googled and this came up and, they want to know about it. So it's definitely it's been around since the 70s, but it's getting much widespread. Craniosacral therapy is a gentle touch therapy that uses the cerebrospinal fluid, the fluid that we have in our brain and spine, that circulates through our brain and spine, and it gives our brain and spine tissues nourishment. It pulls out toxins and impurities. It cushions and protects. It does a lot of things. And, craniosacral therapy uses that system, that flow of that fluid, to be able to identify throughout the body where there are imbalances, either structurally, whether that's like a cranial bone or a bone that's out of alignment, or if it's neurologically or muscularly, if there's some kind of imbalance, or it can also be emotionally, because as I'm sure you guys talk about it enough, the connection between mind and body. So emotions can get trapped in our bodies. Trauma can get stored in our bodies in different ways. And the body is always looking for balance. The body is always trying to bob and weave and figure out as we go through our everyday life how to remain balanced. And so sometimes if a trauma comes or a very strong emotion comes, it'll say, you know what, I can't deal with that right now. So I'm just gonna put a little pocket of this emotion over in the stomach. But then what that ends up looking like is if it gets stuck there, then all of a sudden we start having GI issues, or we start having stomach problems. And, people will go to doctors and they can't figure out what's wrong. And a large majority of my clients, they do have diagnoses. A large majority of them are told by their doctors, like, no, there's nothing wrong. Everything's fine. Well, it's not fine because they're experiencing symptoms. They're not able to function in their everyday life. And when they usually find craniosacral therapy, hopefully. So, yeah.
How did you get into craniosacral work? Like, what made you decide I want to be a craniosacral therapist?
Well, I went to school for occupational therapy, and, at my heart, I am an occupational therapist, and that's how I practice. And some people don't even know what occupational therapy is, which is, I do a lot of educating in my line of work, which is very good. But occupational therapy is helping people learn to function in their everyday life. And it's very creative and it's very problem solving. And when I was in school, they would teach us some manual techniques, some different ways to, move the body. And I never really connected with them and they never made sense to me. And then in my post-career schooling, I worked in mental health for a while. I worked in pediatrics for a while. And I was working at a private pediatric clinic. And the woman there who ran the clinic did craniosacral therapy with the children there and introduced me to it. And I'm always looking for education and stuff. So I was like, I'll try a class. And I took the first craniosacral therapy course. And, as in so many things in life, I was lucky enough to listen to the universe when the universe said, hey, you connect with this thing. Like I could really, I felt like I could do it. It made sense to my being. It made sense to me. And I just kind of kept pulling at that thread and practicing it and learning. And I think the thing that I love about craniosacral therapy is that it gets to the root cause of what's going on. And that's how people can really heal.
We're very much into root cause. Now, I wanted to ask you because, I think part of the reason why we connected was because we're both very like feely type people, right? Like we are feelers and we feel things from ourselves and from other people. And I think that's why craniosacral works well for you because you're able to really feel and I just want your opinion on this. I was just recently listening to something and it was talking about how the CFS fluid, the craniocerebral spinal fluid, is theorized is the seat of our consciousness. Like our consciousness sort of lives within that. And I was wondering if that's why you're able to get to the root cause, because if our entire being is there, like our whole consciousness is flowing inside of this fluid, it can give you the answers to anything. Like, what is wrong with this person? It's in there, right? Like, how do you feel about that?
I absolutely agree. We have something in craniosacral therapy called the significance detector. And it's basically a tool that we use where I speak with the body. The body uses the craniosacral rhythm to either answer yes or no. And it turns it off and turns it on. And it's tapping into that inner wisdom of the body. The body knows exactly what it needs to do to heal itself. Sometimes it just needs a mediary to help connect the conscious person with their body and just, a little assistance to help the body do what it needs to do. That's where I, as a practitioner, come in. I am very conscious that in my practice and when I'm working with someone, the absolute expert on the table is the person's body. That body knows what it needs, and I do not question it. And sometimes I have to explain to my clients, if they come in for TMJ and I'm starting to work with their feet and their sacrum, I have to explain to them why I'm doing what I'm doing, because they're like, well, how about my jaw? Like, isn't it my jaw? But if your sacrum's out of alignment, the body tells me, no, work here first, then work here. Then maybe we get to the jaw. I have to follow the plan and follow the instruction that I get from the body. And the way that I communicate with the body is through the cerebrospinal fluid. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And I definitely need you to send me that afterwards, because I would like to read what you were reading, because I'm always looking for the research and the different discoveries that people are making so that I can, be up to date. But I often say to my clients, one of the big things that I also do with my clients is helping them learn to talk to their bodies and listen to their bodies. So many people with chronic pain, and this is completely understandable, out of sheer preservation to get through the day, often try to disconnect because they just can't deal. But by disconnecting, they're missing the messages that their body's giving them, and they're disconnecting from that intuition that their body has on what it needs and how it needs to be helped. So getting people to even speak nicely to their bodies. People come in, this is my bad back, this is my bad knees, this is my bad neck. Is it bad? I don't know that it's bad. I think your body just wants love. I think your body is a good body. that just needs a little bit of help. And, we're here to help it. And so even just changing the tone of how people talk to their bodies, the cells in their bodies respond differently to that positive thought or positive feeling about themselves and about their bodies. The tissues, literally, I can feel the tissues changing and responding to that shift. I would say, gosh, it's in 100% of the work that I do with people.
So I'm just curious for our listeners out there who are trying to understand what craniosacral therapy is, because I know for myself it's a little difficult to understand what
Yeah.
you actually do. So when you touch someone's feet, when you touch their sacrum or wherever you place your hands, what does it feel like? What does the craniosacral rhythm feel like? Is it a tingling? Is it a pressure? Like what's going on when you put your hands on someone?
So when I put my hands on someone's body and I'm tuning in, similarly to how you would put your fingers on someone's wrist or on their side of their neck to feel the blood flow and get a heart rate, I can feel the rhythm of the craniosacral fluid moving with my hands. It's like changing the channel on a radio. Not that anyone listens to radios much. They listen to podcasts like this one. But the rhythm feels like a very slow, even movement in, like towards the center of the body, and a movement out away towards the sides of the body. So it's a very gentle rhythm. Now, when I feel for that rhythm, I'm evaluating different qualities. I'm evaluating how fast or slow the rhythm is moving, how loud, how big the volume of the rhythm is. I listen to the qualities of it. Is it sludgy? Is it jerky? Is it smooth? There's all these different qualities and that I evaluate. And then based on that evaluation and based on what I feel, I can give the rhythm a little bit of resistance to get it to stop. And the body will stop the rhythm, reset, and then turn the rhythm back on. And then I reevaluate the qualities of the rhythm. And usually after the body has stopped the rhythm and turns it back on, you notice improvements and changes in the quality of the rhythm.
How are you doing this? Are you doing this with your intention? Is it your body, your rhythm that's influencing this other person's rhythm?
No. In fact, if I'm doing it correctly, I am a neutral person. I do not approach anyone with any intention other than to be present. There's no way to have completely no intention because the people have come here for my help. So I automatically have an intention that I'm going to help them. But when I place my hands on their body, I just say, I'm here. I'm listening and I'm here. That's it. Not I'm here to help, not I'm here to fix the TMJ. I'm just here. I'm present. I'm here. If you want to talk, if you want to tell me, if you want to show me the craniosacral rhythm, if you want to show me what you would like, whatever, I'm here. I'm listening. And then that's how I start that dialogue with that person's body during their session. And I very much do not want to impose any of my energy onto them, as little as possible. I'm a human, so, I try my best. But the more grounded and neutral that I stay, the better I'm able to hear what the body's telling me to do, more the person's able to connect in with their own body. So neutrality is really, really important.
It sounds like you're a safe place and like a container, basically, to
Yeah.
hold space for your clients. So I'm just curious as well, the resetting of the rhythms, which you explained perfectly. How does that help people relieve pain conditions in their body?
Right. So what happens when the body is resetting the rhythm? It's very similar to like if your computer or your phone is acting up and you turn it off and you wait 30 seconds, then you plug it back in or turn it back on, and then magically it just starts working again. The body is a very complex system. So I wouldn't say it's that magical, but that is the mechanism that the body uses. And for people, they will notice a decrease in their pain, or they will notice a decrease in any of the symptoms that they're experiencing. I've literally had people's bones pop, or a joint moves, or they have all these different signs of release. So their arm will jerk, or their leg will jerk, or they'll feel tingly sensations. They'll feel warmth. They'll feel cold. They'll feel emotions coming up. It could be sadness, laughter, anything, any emotion. They will have usually some kind of physical response, or they might just feel super relaxed and sometimes fall asleep and then tell me that they didn't fall asleep. And I'll go, well, you were snoring, but okay, you didn't fall asleep. But they're so relaxed that they don't even realize that they're asleep. And for people, especially because I do treat a lot of people with chronic pain conditions, and for those people especially, craniosacral is very gentle. And that's very important for people with chronic pain conditions, because some of them can either be very easily triggered or very easily exacerbated their symptoms. You have to go very gently, or they're just very scared of being touched or scared of, making things worse. So the more gentle that I can be, and the symptom relief therefore can also be very gentle. It doesn't have to be this big jarring thing. Sometimes it's so gentle that clients don't even realize that they're feeling better. Like they'll come in and I'll say, hey, how you doing? And they're like, well, fine, nothing's really changed. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And then they'll be like, yeah, we went for a hike on weekend, and that was nice. And I'm like, when you came to me, how far were you able to walk? And they're like, around the block. And I'm like, and now you're going on a hike. And they're like, oh, yeah, I am. Because the changes in their bodies have been so gradual that they haven't even really noticed that,
So
like, oh yeah, I'm doing a lot more than I used to before I started. So the treatment can be gentle, the symptom relief can be gentle, and the functional gains that people can make can also be very gentle and gradual, which I think, especially for people with chronic pain, can be very helpful.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point you make about being very gentle. And people with chronic pain, they are afraid of their own bodies, and they're afraid of experiencing and feeling, and they're assuming that, oh, it's going to bring on the pain, and they're going to feel the things, and it's going to bring up all the stories behind the pain that they may not even be aware of coming up. So it is, I've experienced craniosacral through you. Thank you. And my children have experienced craniosacral through you. And then, me being a physical therapist as well, like I'm aware of different kinds of touch, some more forceful. I don't want to say like, worse, but not that there's no good and bad. It's all neutral, right? Everyone gets what they need, and it's all helpful for different people at different times. Some people may need a more gentle touch, and some people may need something a little bit more. But I also wanted to ask you, it sounds like in your description, because I already know what you do, and we have done coursework together, right? Visceral
Yeah.
manipulation and mobilization, where that is similar. And I would probably put all of these things under like healing touch, the
Yeah.
umbrella of healing touch, like putting your hands on someone and them experiencing some sort of relief through it. And it's not that we are the ones that are doing the healing, we are the neutral people, and it's sort of coming through us. And through that, they get introduced to, oh, this feels safe, and their nervous system is okay with it. But I just want you to explain for the people who don't know, because they're probably like, what the heck are they talking about? Because it sounds like you're working not with your regular senses, right? I would sort of categorize this as like a sixth sense or another type of sense. Like we have others. People think, oh, the five senses. Well, there's way more than that. We just don't normalize them. So how would you describe the type of sense, if you can describe it? Because I think I would even have trouble describing it. How would you describe the sense you are using in working with people? And then how would you teach them to work with that sense for themselves so they can know their bodies?
Sure. So I would say the sense that I probably use, gosh, what are you going to call it? Babies talk to me, they communicate with me. when I work with babies, and they'll say, look at how tense mom's shoulders are. And they'll stare me directly in the eyes. And they're like, look at how tense my mother is right now. Please help her too. But they use what you would, I guess you would call that telepathy, I suppose. But it's a communication with the body, and it's listening, but it's not listening to any sound that's actually auditory. It's listening to a frequency that is not auditory,
It's
I guess.
tapping in. I mean,
Tapping in. Yeah.
that was the word, the
Right.
definition that they actually used in the visceral class. It's called listening, right? It was like you put your hands on someone and you listen. That was the term that they used. And at first it was like, what the heck are we listening for? Not with our ears, with our hands though? Like
With
how
your hand.
does
Exactly. And so essentially I hear voices all day long. I talk to people's bodies, but then I think for it to be most effective, I need to help them learn to listen to their own bodies. And so sometimes that is I'm dialoguing with their body, or I'm listening to their body, and I'll share with them, or I'll ask them questions that get them to start thinking about the things that their body's talking about. Or sometimes I will actually have them talk to their bodies, and then the first answer that comes into their mind, that's the answer. So I'll say, they'll be like, I don't know why my shoulder's hurting. I'm like, well, let's ask your body. And someone else say, you can say it out loud or you can say it in your mind. And they'll go, okay, and they'll do whatever they're comfortable with. Sometimes it's 50-50. And so I'll say, all right, so ask your body, why is my shoulder hurting? And the first thing that comes into your mind, listen to that. And then we just kind of unravel it from there. And then we ask another question. And it's just a question. It's not leading. It's very, again, neutral. Why is your shoulder hurting? Well, I carry a lot on my shoulders. What do you carry on your shoulders? I have a lot of responsibilities. What are those responsibilities? Just like you just kind of get them to dialogue with their bodies, and all while I'm engaged with the craniosacral rhythm. And I can sense with how the craniosacral rhythm responds, how if we're getting to something that's really, a core thing, the rhythm will respond in different ways. It'll either turn off abruptly, or it will magnify and get really loud, or get really soft. There's a bunch of different ways. I know that everyone has the ability to listen and learn that sense and learn to listen to their bodies. Everyone has the ability to do that. It's just whether they're at a place to want to learn how to do that, or most of them are. If they're in my practice, they're usually at a point where they're ready to learn and ready to listen to their bodies.
So, as you know already, I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner. And the reason Amanda knows already is because I'm actually a client of Amanda's. Keneal had introduced me to her so she can help me process some of the grief I've been holding with the divorce. The sessions have been pretty amazing, how she is able to touch my feet and I'll feel actually sensations in my body change and be able to release some of the grief and sadness that I've been holding over the last 6 months. And it's so interesting. You talked about, what are you feeling and what do we call that? But I'll feel the same thing when I have a client online. I'll say, well, what's happening in your chest right now? And they'll be like, how'd you know something was happening in my chest? And it's just the resonance that you have and create, with your client, which I think is amazing. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Root FX, what that is. You mentioned that in your bio, and I was wondering if you tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is my other passion. That is the other thing that I love, and the other thing that I do mainly in my office. I've been also studying that for a very long time. RootFX is a dynamic training system that teaches people how to use their bodies properly in their everyday life. And I create an exercise program for them that teaches their bodies how to release tension in their muscles and joints, and how to move with greater mobility and move in a way that mechanically is appropriate for their body, and grounding. And they learn to move from their core, and their core being their legs and their pelvis but in a very grounded and connected way. These exercises that I do myself personally, and as well as my family and friends, but that I would use with my clients, it's a very nice complement actually to craniosacral therapy, because it's something a little bit more concrete and something that people can do for themselves on a daily basis to release tension in their bodies, wherever that tension may be. And I like being able to give people something concrete to do. And there's listening to your body involved in that too. You know, when I give people an exercise program, I go, okay, so I've given you these exercises. We're going to work on your neck mobility. We're going to work on your shoulders. We're going to open up your hips, but listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you different things on different days. Don't push past where, you think your body can go. Why don't you want to do upper body today? Listen to your body. What's it saying? Oh, I'm tired. Okay, do something else. I kind of incorporate that into both of those things. But Root FX is, I've never experienced a training program that is more connected and more grounding and more rooting. It's based in Tai Chi principles, which, very much involves energy and flow as well. But it's just a highly effective tension release system. And, I'm 45 now, and I plan to live many more years. And I do not ascribe to the, oh, I'm just getting older, I guess that's why my back is hurting, or, oh, I'm just getting older, I guess I'll be losing mobility now. No. I plan to continue to be mobile, and as mobile as I can, and work on my body's strength and mobility throughout my whole life. And so that's a tool that I use with myself as well as with my clients.
I was just having a conversation this week about Tai Chi and Qigong and why they're so beneficial, and just in general, like traditional Chinese medicine or any of these like medicine practices that are much, much older than like today's modern medical practice, which my opinion, it's only good for acute stuff and not that great for the other stuff. And it's because they incorporate these other older traditional medicine practices, incorporate energy, right? Like moving chi or ki or kra or whatever, depending on what part of the world you are from. It's just moving energy. And they recognize that we are not just physical, right? There's more to us than this physical body. And hence why we have these other senses, right? And hence why you can pick up on what someone's consciousness through the CSF is doing, because there's so much more to us than this physical. There's different kinds of energies and frequencies, and we do pick up on that. And it sounds like this Root FX is just another tool. It's just another tool. There's different tools, and this tool might work really well for someone, and that tool might work well for someone, and this tool might be more beneficial for someone. But it's all of these just sound like different tools that you've been able to incorporate and use in helping people, and it aligns so well with who you are as a person. This like energy that you have that comes out of you aligns really well with what you do, and I think that's what makes you so successful in doing this work, is because it aligns and you're able to read people so well.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I agree. I definitely created this practice based out of alignment and what aligns with what makes sense and what resonates with my soul and what resonates with, other people. I don't use these two tools together necessarily, but when, having them both allows me, or allows my clients, for me to meet my clients where they are. So like some people will come in and they'll be like, I have this really stiff shoulder, or my neck is hurting me, or my low back, and I've been doing this exercise and that exercise, and I've been doing this and doing that. And so I'll use some Root FX and I'll get them on a training program, and we'll start working. And 9 times out of 10, we'll get some results, but we're just kind of not quite there. And then I'll say, well, you know what? Let's check in with your craniosacral system. Or, oh, I did have a car accident, 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Let's check in. And we use the craniosacral therapy, and we get to like sort of a more neurological or more emotional level, and kind of come at it from a different perspective. Or I get the opposite. People come to me for craniosacral therapy and we're doing all the craniosacral therapy, but then they're like, right, but I'm at a standing desk and I'm on the computer all day. And I'm like, well, we got to look at your posture too. Like, craniosacral therapy is great for a lot of things, but if you're going back and you're standing at your desk in an improper posture, or you're not grounded and engaged in your core, that's just something very basic that you need to look at. So I'm able to, kind of cultivate for people a very personalized experience for what their body needs in the moment. And I kind of have a lot of the bases covered, I think. So,
Yeah. So you're really good at listening to people's bodies, right? And we each say this, like, oh, people have to listen to their bodies. And they're like, yeah, listen to my body. What does that mean? Like, how would you explain what listening to your body means to someone? Because I say that with people too. I'm like, you just have to listen to your body, learn to do that. And they're like, tell me how. What do you
yeah,
say?
absolutely. The way that I explain it to my clients is like, say, if I'm working with someone who has children or a grandchild, or, some kind of child in their life, I'll say, if your child came to you and told you, a problem, and you listened to the problem, and then, you offered a solution, it's the same thing. It's your body telling you what the problem is, coming to you. And it's like you hear the problem in your, well, some people hear it, some people see it, some people feel it, some people get like a gut, like a pit in their stomach. I'll ask people sometimes, like, have you ever walked into a room or walked into a situation, or been walking down a street and seen someone and been like, this doesn't feel safe, or this doesn't feel good? Like, I'll try and find some example in their own life when they've listened to their intuition. And then I use that as the example. And like, that's how you listen to your body. That gut instinct that tells you, you know what? I don't know why, but I don't think I should drive this way. I should drive another way, or whatever it is. If I can find that an experience that they've had already, because I'm sure they have had one, then I use that as like a hook to kind of get them to understand that that's listening to your body. Is sometimes it's also, a lot of people don't like to be quiet. They don't want to quiet their mind, or they say, I can't quiet my mind. My mind is just going and going and going. So sometimes teaching, showing them how to quiet their mind, or so that they can get those messages or listen, that can also be very helpful. Hard to describe to people.
It's about just checking in with your body and becoming quiet. I know myself, I'm a talker. I love to talk. And if I can just check in with my body, even with a decision I have to make, I'll get a literal physiological response from my body to tell me what to do and what's needed. So I'm just curious, you work in New Jersey.
Mhm.
Suppose someone wanted to work with you and they don't live near you. Can this work be done in other ways?
It can. So I'm in New Jersey. I'm licensed as an occupational therapist, and I practice under that license. So I only work with people who are in New Jersey. There are craniosacral therapists. It's an international thing. So there are craniosacral therapists everywhere. And so a lot of times, if people will call me from out of state, or have a loved one who's, in Phoenix, Arizona, or whatever, I will assist them in finding a craniosacral therapist that I think has, or a few that have the training that is needed. But the root FX is a thing that can be done via telehealth, and doing occupational therapy, or whether it's more like a physical trainer kind of a thing. There's some of that gets a little bit tough to figure out, but there are ways. I do telehealth in my office, and there are ways to do those sorts of things when people can't come into the actual office, especially with root FX, because we can do your training on Zoom, and I can see and correct people's postures and do everything that teach everything that needs to be taught. And root FX also has online training groups, which are very, very helpful, because you're training with a group of people, and that can be really helpful to not feel so isolated and by yourself. But yeah, I mean, this certainly can translate to telehealth. It just depends on the circumstances.
Then I wanted to ask you about your holding space for people, right? Or allowing energy to move through you so you can listen to what people's bodies are saying. I mean, me personally, I am super sensitive and I, as much as I try not to, do end up taking stuff on. So I just was curious about your practice. And for me, this is considered my spiritual practice. Like these are the things that I do to protect myself, my energy, return what doesn't belong to me, kind of thing. I have my different ways and methods of doing that. And I was just curious as to what methods you have to protect yourself from the energies of other people.
Sure, absolutely. Gee, so that's a good question. So when I'm actually working with someone, before I place my hands on them, I ground my feet into the floor. For me, that looks like I imagine roots coming out of the bottom of my feet and down into the floor and down into the earth. I usually take some deep breaths and just kind of try and get as quiet as possible. There are times when I will allow my body to be the communication tool. A person's body will communicate through me, through my body, and I'll start feeling a headache here. And I just know that that's not my headache. But I have to be very, very cautious with that and be like, okay, great, got it, headache, done now. We're done now. That's enough of that communication because I don't want to take on those symptoms. Sometimes I actually, this is a technique I learned at a class one time because I am sort of prone to doing that, is imagining either at my fingertips or either at my wrists, like a little, like a door or a wall or a metal wall, like something that goes up that nothing can go past. Like nothing can go past my wrist. I can feel in my hands, but nothing goes past this gate at my wrist and into the rest of my body. So I have certain things while I'm treating. But then afterwards, I do things like I do a lot of visualization techniques. So I'll visualize the person in front of me and scan my body and make sure that there's nothing that I've connected to anywhere in my body with the person's body. I will physically move move my arms and move my hands and kind of brush energy off of me down into the earth. There's a whole bunch of different techniques that I use to do that. But I had a client recently who was having a very big emotional release and a very big physiological release. And they said to me, like, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? And I was fine. I was completely neutral. In fact, I felt nothing because I was grounded and because I was present and because I was there, but I wasn't connected. I wasn't in their experience. I was outside of it, but I was present in there. And so if I can do that, that's great. And if I get pulled in sometimes, there was one time recently where a mother was expressing something that was also something that I had experienced in my own life, and I got welled up with emotion, and that was okay. I didn't judge myself for it. I acknowledged it, I recognized it, and then I went, okay, but this is not me, this is not mine, and I was able to then separate from it. But I just have I have to listen to my own body. I have to, I have to practice what I preach. I have to be conscious of my responses to people and not take on their energy. Because there is the energy of the person. Some people bring in some energies. I don't know where these energies are coming from, but there's something else. And it's not me, and it's not the other person, but it's something else. And I don't know about all that, but I know it's there, and I just kind of put a shell of protection over myself. I download some light. I tell myself I am safe, I am protected, and I hold that barrier. I do that for my family and my home space. So I do that too, because that's really, really important, is keeping myself safe. Yeah, from all the stuff.
It's so interesting how we can take on other people's symptoms. I know that when I've worked with people before and maybe they've come to me with some type of shoulder pain or whatever, and all of a sudden I'll get off the call and my shoulder will start hurting. And I literally say, nope, that is not yours. You do not need it. And it usually will go away right away, I have to say.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so funny. We do. People fail to realize how much we actually communicate. Like, we don't just communicate with our words, and we don't just communicate non-verbally with like our hands and facial expressions. Like, we're communicating quite a bit of energy that's moving through us to other people. And I mean, I remember having a conversation years ago with you, Amanda. I was working, maybe you had brought it up, and I was like, oh my goodness, the same thing happened to me. I was working with a patient. I don't even remember what I was doing, but my hands were on them and I was working manually with them. And I just got really sleepy. I was like falling asleep while I was mobilizing this person. And I remember you had brought it up and you were like, oh, wait, yeah, this happened to me. It was the anesthesia that they had. And I was like, oh, that's what that was. Cause yeah, they were post surgery. And I was like, wow, isn't that interesting how their body like released that, or I sensed that, and I was falling asleep while I was working with them. So I've had to learn to also like, okay, I'm only gonna feel what I need to feel right now, and I'm gonna release what no longer belongs to me. And I will send myself like protection ahead of time and like protect myself before I work with the client or our patients. And then afterwards, I will also like, okay, done. I'm moving on. Like, let it go. And I too will feel like, oh, I worked on someone's ankle. They had ankle pain. And then later I'm like, why is my ankle? Oh, yeah, right. That's not even mine. And then I'll be like, okay, you got to go now. We already did the work. This doesn't belong to me. And usually by the end of the day, it's gone. Or by the next day, I wake up and it's gone. Whereas it used to linger because I didn't recognize it. And I would be like, my ankle hurts. I did something to my ankle, which I feel like was me solidifying that. Like, oh, I'm gonna take it on. That's mine now. I'm taking it on. And then my ankle would hurt for days and for weeks. And I didn't know why, and it didn't make any sense. So interesting.
That's good that you have those tools now. Yeah, I've even found a lot of times people will come in and they'll be like, well, I was doing really, really well. And then this morning I woke up with a migraine and I haven't had a migraine for, 6 days. And now this morning I had a migraine, or I was on my way here and my stomach started to hurt. And I'm like, yeah, our bodies are there. It's already in the session. It's already ready to go. The body doesn't really experience time like our conscious minds experience time. So the body just knows that it's about to do some healing. So it's like, oh, let's get started now, And I have to kind of explain to them, like, it's all good. It's just your body got going a little bit before, your appointment time. And which is a great thing because it means that the body is connected and, ready to do some more healing.
So I know that Keneal thinks you're extremely talented, and I think you're amazing. I call you the magic 8 ball because you are just able to like tune in so easily and give people a sense of safety, which is so important, I believe, when healing from chronic pain conditions or other things that you treat. So, where could people find you if they would like to make an appointment or find out more information from you?
Sure. So I have a website, findrelief.therapy.com. That's Find Relief Therapy. That's the name of my practice. They can go to my website. They can book an appointment right online, or they can give me a call at the office or email me, and I'll get back to them and see how we might be able to help and listen on this podcast. Obviously, I'm in East Hanover, New Jersey, which is right on the border of Morris and Essex County. But in New Jersey, I serve, people come to me from Union County and Bergen and Essex and Sussex and all over. So I get people who sort of travel far and wide. But yeah, probably the website is the best place to start.
Great. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I know we could have talked for a whole lot longer about all the things, but that's okay.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that you guys are doing this podcast and doing this work and getting this information out here to people. It's really helpful. So thanks.
Thank you so much for being here.
If you'd like to leave us a message or ask a question, please check the show notes with the link so you can reach us directly, or email us at beyondthepelvis@gmail.com.